3 timeouts left. The Lakers have 2. Bryant to Shaq.
Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal were possibly the best duo in NBA history. They dominated the league in the early 2000s, three-peating and going a record 15-1 in the 2001 playoffs. The duo could have achieved a lot more if it were not for their petty differences. They both would go their separate ways, both winning championships after separating, Shaq winning one in Miami and Kobe winning 2 straight in 2009 and 2010, giving Kobe 5 championships in his career. Now when looking back at Kobe's legacy, many Kobe haters love to say that Kobe was carried by Shaq for 3 of his 5 championships. But this is not true. Kobe was not carried by Shaquille O'Neal. But before we look at some numbers, let's first define what it means for a player to be carried. A player being a 2nd or 3rd or even 5th best player on a championship team is not a player that is being carried. For a player to be carried, they have to be bad or not really contributing to winning basketball. For example, John Salley was a bad player in the 80s and 90s who won 2 championships with the Bad Boy Pistons and 1 with the Chicago Bulls, averaging 7 points on the Pistons and 2 on the Bulls. Luke Walton was carried by Kobe, ironically enough. Udonis Haslem, even though he was a decent role player, was carried by Wade and LeBron was carried by James Jones to 7 straight finals appearances. Kobe was the 2nd best player on the Lakers throughout their 3-peat run. Would you say that Dwayne Wade was carried by LeBron when the Heat had the Big 3? Would you say that Scottie Pippen was carried by Jordan? Was McHale carried by Larry Bird? No. These guys were all the 2nd best players on championship teams, which isn't really a hit on their legacies. It would look better for them to have won those rings as the best player, but they shouldn't be and are not criticized for being the 2nd best player on their teams. Kobe in that 3-peat run contributed immensely in the playoffs. Let's break down some stats. In the 2000 NBA playoffs, when Kobe was only 21 years old in his 2nd season starting, Kobe averaged 21 points, 4.4 assists, and 4.4 rebounds, shooting 44% from the field and 34% from 3. Not really the numbers of a player who was being carried. In the finals, Kobe did play notably bad, but he was injured by Jalen Rose from the start of the series in Game 2, only playing 9 minutes of that game, which really hurt his stats, and missing out on Game 3. But he still played the rest of the series when he could have easily chosen to sit because his ankle was swollen all the way throughout Game 4 and 6. In the 2001 playoffs, Kobe averaged 29.4 points, 6.1 assists, and 7.3 rebounds while shooting 47% from the field. In comparison, Shaq averaged 30.4 points, 15.4 rebounds, and shot 55% from the field, a 1-point difference. Again, carried. And in the 2001 finals, Kobe averaged 24.6 points, 5.8 assists, 7.8 rebounds, along with 1.4 blocks and steals, shooting 42% from the field. In what world is a player who averages 25 in the playoffs a player that was carried? Just because Shaq put up great numbers doesn't mean that Kobe doesn't deserve his rings. Doesn't mean that he didn't earn them. Let's finally look at the last championship run. In the 2002 playoffs, Kobe averaged 26.8 points, 5.3 assists, and 5.8 rebounds, shooting 51% from the field. Shaq averaged 9.5 more points than Kobe, which is ridiculous. But again, not trying to say that Kobe was better than Shaq because he sure as hell wasn't, but he was not carried. Outside of just those stats throughout the playoffs, there were moments in the playoffs where Kobe completely saved Shaq's ass. Shaq also did the same for Kobe many times, but a player who was carried never saved the best player's ass. In the 2000 conference finals, it was Kobe who closed out the series in Game 6 and 7. In Game 6, Shaq, who averaged 25 and 15 in the playoffs that year, only put up 17 and 11 rebounds, shooting only 41% with 4 turnovers. The Lakers' game plan in 2000 was literally give the ball to Shaq in the post and get out of the way. When Shaq didn't produce, it was bad for the Lakers in the past. but Kobe did not let the Lakers slip, as he had 33 points, 6 assists, 3 blocks, and 4 steals, shooting 50% from the field and hitting 6 of his 9 3-pointers. And in Game 7, reminder that Kobe was only 21 at this point. While Shaq wasn't terrible, by his own standards, his 18 points and 9 rebounds was not good. But Kobe's 25 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists was great. The Lakers were down 15 points going into the fourth quarter of this game. Kobe, with his 25 points, led the comeback. Late in the game, Kobe sunk a jumper and hit 2 free throws. Then on the next possession,
Portland has 3 timeouts left. The Lakers have 2. Bryant to Shaq.
even in a performance where Kobe was at center stage, Shaq comes in at the end to look like he was the best player in the game. And in the 2000 finals, in a series that again, Kobe was injured in, and in Game 4, Shaq fouled out late in the fourth quarter. The Pacers tried to capitalize on this, but they couldn't because Kobe came through in overtime with a total of 28 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, and 2 blocks, shooting 52%. This was a 6-game series, and if the Lakers lose this game, the Lakers would have to go into Game 6 down 3-2 after losing in Game 5. There's a good chance that Indiana is able to win Game 6 or 7 with that advantage. So in 3 key games, Kobe was there to save Shaq's ass when he was underperforming. The Lakers don't even go to the finals if Kobe doesn't show up like that. In the 2001 playoffs in Game 7 versus the Kings, Kobe closed out the series with 48 points, followed by 45 points on the Spurs in Game 1 of the conference finals. Now I'm going to make a point that may come off as controversial. Looking at the finals stats from 2001 and 2002, these final stats, 24.6 points, 5.8 assists, 7.8 rebounds in 2001, and 26.8 points, 5.3 assists, and 5.8 rebounds in 2002. With those stats, in just about any other finals, Kobe would have won Finals MVP. Those are great superstar numbers. I would argue that just about any other player in NBA history alongside Shaq would have to play second fiddle by default. Because Shaq was such a dominant force, even if it was Michael Jordan and Shaq, as unstoppable as Jordan was, he wasn't as unstoppable as Shaquille O'Neal was. Kobe gets criticized for Shaq's greatness. Because Shaq was so amazing, that means that Kobe was carried? Excuse my language here, but what the fuck kind of logic is that? Back to the point of what carrying truly is, if you think that a player who doesn't work for it doesn't deserve a ring, if you think a player who puts in work to be the best that they can be is the most deserving player, then if anything, you think that Kobe carried Shaq. As dominant as Shaq was as a player, there was no doubt that Shaq was, at least by NBA standards, really damn lazy. He had plenty of problems with conditioning, and he was really only just so dominant by default. Kobe, as a player of average size, at least NBA-wise, had to work non-stop to reach the level of dominance that he did. Shaq did not. If Kobe was a 7'2", 300-pound Goliath, and Shaq was 6'6", the script would be completely flipped, except that Shaq as a 6'6" player wouldn't have been half the player that Kobe was at that height. One final point before I end this video, Shaq was in the NBA for 7 seasons before Kobe became a dominant player, and he had nothing to show for it. Only once Kobe joined him did Shaq start winning rings. Shaq was definitely the best player in the Lakers, but that does not mean that Kobe was carried. Kobe needed Shaq just as much as Shaq needed Kobe. Second option does not equal carried. Does Ray Allen ever get flack for being the third option on the Boston Celtics? Does Dwayne Wade get crap for not being the best guy for 2 of his 3 championships? Does McHale get any kind of judgment because Larry Bird was just simply the better player than him? Same for Scottie Pippen. These players do not get this kind of criticism because we all know that they're not on the level of Kobe. Because of Kobe's greatness, he gets a criticism that really doesn't get applied to anyone else throughout NBA history. Kobe carried by Shaq, myth busted. That's the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for more NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.